South America summit diplomacy begins. President Lee Jae-myung is set to hold talks with Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, the highlight of his state visit to Brazil, the first stop on his three-nation tour to the continent. We have a preview from Brasilia. Remembering the armistice. Monday marks the 73rd anniversary of the Korean War Armistice Agreement, as well as UN Forces Participation Day. We look at how South Korea is honoring those who fought in the war while expanding support for communities still living with its legacy. And a pause in the fighting? The latest exchange of strikes between the United States and Iran appears to have come to a halt for now, with the two sides now communicating indirectly through mediators. Could the pause pave the way for a more lasting de-escalation? Good evening, and thank you for joining us here on Newscenter. I'm Song Yoo-jin, filling in for Kim Da-mi. We begin tonight in Brazil, where President Lee Jae-myung will hold a summit with Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva in the coming hours, after wrapping up the U.S. leg of his five-nation tour. Our Blue House correspondent Yoon Jung-min, who's traveling with the president, has this preview.
Upon arrival in Brazil for a three-day state visit, President Lee Jae-myung and First Lady Kim Hae-kyung toured Brazil's C-390 transport aircraft, soon to be introduced in Korea. The president called it the beginning of defense industry cooperation between the two countries. Presidents Lee and Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva last met at the expanded G7 summit in France and held a bilateral summit in Seoul in February. In a written interview with FA News Agency, the South Korean president said he sees ties with South America entering a new phase. He added that reliable partners are needed more than ever in times of rising protectionism and supply chain disruptions. The talks on Monday will involve an official welcoming ceremony, expanded talks, an exchange of MOUs, a joint press conference, and lunch. South Korea is looking to expand trade and investments in South America, for which they will seek resuming negotiations for the Korea-Mercosur trade agreement.
We expect to dramatically increase trade with these countries and support our companies making inroads into the South American market.
Also on the agenda is enhancing cooperation in critical minerals and creating synergy with Korea's advanced technology. Korea is also looking to expand its diplomatic horizons to the global south.
Brazil is the fifth largest country by area and the seventh largest by population. It not only leads the order in the South American region, but also provides active leadership in the UN and G20.
Following a flurry of diplomacy in recent weeks involving the EU, G7, and NATO, President Lee's trip to South America signals a fully fledged diplomacy with the region amid a complicated geopolitical environment. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News, Brasilia.
And soon after arriving in Brasilia, President Lee held a virtual meeting with the senior aides here in Seoul, ordering the government to keep its emergency economic response in place as tensions in the Middle East continue to drive oil price uncertainty. Take a look.
네, 지금 여기와 대한민국은 정확하게 12시간, 밤 12시간, 낮 12시로 바뀐 상태입니다.
Even from Brazil, President Lee Jae-myung kept up his weekly meeting with senior aides. Held virtually on Sunday evening in Brasilia, the meeting linked the president with officials in Seoul. A major focus was stepping up preparations for the economic fallout from the renewed military conflict between the United States and Iran.
중동 지역 상황이 다시 불안정해지면서 국제 유가가 출렁이고 있습니다. 유가 변동성이 당분간 이어질 가능성이 큰 만큼 국내 물가에 미칠 영향을 최소화하기 위한 선제적 노력을 빠르게 기울여야 되겠습니다.
He ordered the government to keep both its fuel price caps and fuel tax cuts in place until global oil prices stabilize. Last week, Seoul froze wholesale fuel price ceilings at their current levels, reversing an earlier plan to lower them as tensions in the Middle East escalated. Fuel tax cuts will also remain in place through September at 15% for gasoline and 25% for diesel. President Lee also instructed officials to prepare additional support measures if the situation worsens. He then went on to order a crackdown on those seeking to profit from the crisis.
기름뿐 아니라 다른 핵심 민생 품목들에 대해서도 매점 매석, 담합행위 같은 사례가 발생하지 않도록 관계 당국이 시장 교란 행위 단속에 만전을 기해 주시기 바랍니다.
The president's remarks came after domestic oil refiners were found to have engaged in a price-fixing scheme worth tens of trillions of won. Trial dates are being scheduled following indictments on charges of violating the Fair Trade Act. Sunday's meeting marked the second time Lee has chaired his top 8 meeting virtually while overseas. The Blue House says the format is intended to ensure there are no gaps in state affairs during the president's foreign trips. Now, before arriving in Brazil, President Lee spent 2 days in the United States, meeting with the heads of leading artificial intelligence firms. The visit led to a combined $950 billion AI partnership announced by companies from both countries. Our Park Jun-an breaks down the agreements and what they could mean going forward.
Korea's role in global AI race is becoming irreplaceable. As the AI industry advances, securing the physical infrastructure to run AI, including semiconductors, data centers, and power grids, has become just as important as developing smart AI models. To further strengthen the AI capabilities, Korean and global tech giants have agreed to a $950 billion alliance, roughly 1.4 quadrillion won. The partnerships cover the entire AI ecosystem, from advanced memory chips to physical AI. Samsung Electronics has signed a $200 billion agreement with Broadcom to supply memory chips and cooperate on AI chip production using advanced foundry processes over the next 5 years. SK Group has secured partnerships worth $750 billion with the likes of NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Anthropic. The project includes SK Telecom's massive 2-gigawatt AI factory in Korea. Naver is also expanding its AI data center in Sejong with up to $10 billion in funding. NVIDIA is expected to invest up to $1 billion, while Brookfield is expected to contribute up to $9 billion. These massive partnerships highlight Korea's critical role as a reliable supplier in the global market.
So I think that Korea is in the golden age of technology right now, because we are the monopoly in global memory chip manufacturing, especially in HBMs, and because we also have foundry business driven by Samsung Electronics. Korea is the center of the global semiconductor supply chain, which is most importantly the basic technology for the AI era, which we live in today.
Beyond chips, Hyundai Motor Group is pushing for physical AI by partnering with NVIDIA and Waymo to advance robotics and autonomous driving. However, challenges remain. While these massive investments boost Korea's leverage in AI, the country must ensure these deals go beyond initial agreements and turn into actual execution. Furthermore, Korea, like many other countries, faces the challenge of securing its own technological sovereignty so that it does not become overly dependent on a few global mega companies. Recognizing this, companies like SK Telecom and Naver are actively building local data centers and developing frontier AI models. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
Now, back here at home, Korea's government says it's preparing new measures to boost the housing supply amid growing concerns over the real estate market. Speaking at a public forum on Monday, Prime Minister Han Sung-suk said resolving housing issues remains one of the government's top priorities, while stressing the need to reflect the diverse interests of the public. At the event, Land Minister Kim Yoon-duk said the government will soon unveil measures to encourage the supply of non-apartment housing and diversify corporate rental housing providers. He also said the government is considering partially lifting greenbelt restrictions if necessary to increase housing supply, while emphasizing support for housing stability, particularly for young people and newlyweds. Our other top story tonight. Today, July 27th, marks the 73rd anniversary of the Korean War Armistice Agreement, as well as UN Forces Participation Day. More than 20 countries sent combat troops or medical personnel under the UN flag to help defend South Korea during the 1950s. Now, the government today held a ceremony in Seoul to honor their service and sacrifice. An Sung-jin reports.
July 27th is the United Nations Forces Participation Day. Korea held a national ceremony on Monday honoring the sacrifices of veterans who fought in the Korean War under the banner of the United Nations. This year's theme was Enduring Friendship, a Great Beginning.
At a time like this, the spirit of international solidarity shown during the Korean War is more meaningful than ever. Korea will protect freedom and peace through its strong U.S. alliance and cooperation with UN partner nations.
The event brought together about 1,000 attendees, including Korean War veterans, family members of those who died in the war, and delegates from the 22 UN member states that supported Korea. Individuals were also recognized with government honors for their contributions to preserving the legacy of UN veterans and strengthening international alliances. The Prime Minister reaffirmed Korea's commitments to its alliances amid today's global challenges and pledged continuous support for international peace and humanitarian efforts.
While keeping the door open for dialogue, we will remain prepared against any security threat and continue working with the international community to promote global peace and prosperity.
UN Forces Participation Day commemorates the signing of the 1953 Korean War Armistice Agreement and honors the service of nearly 2 million troops from 22 countries who fought or provided support for the country. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
And continuing our coverage of the anniversary of the Armistice Agreement, for decades, residents living near the border with North Korea have borne the burden of strict security restrictions that have limited tourism, investment, and local industries. The Unification Ministry met with residents today to discuss ways to revitalize those communities. Our correspondent Kim Do-yeon has the story.
At Monday's Border Area Peace and Safety Joint Conference, falling on the anniversary of the 1953 Armistice Agreement, officials from the central government and local governments gathered to discuss how to transform the heavily fortified border region into a center of peace and prosperity. Unification Minister Chung Dong-young highlighted the need to fundamentally shift the purpose of these regions.
We must end this armistice period and transition to a period of peace for the front line to become the center. That is the meaning behind the Second Border Area Peace and Safety Joint Conference being held today.
These 10 border districts stretching across Incheon City, Gyeonggi-do Province, and Gangwon-do Province were historically at the heart of the Korean Peninsula but have spent the past 73 years as isolated military front lines. Local residents have borne heavy security restrictions and economic sacrifices.
It is unprecedented in history to have the Gyeonggi-do Province Governor, Incheon City Mayor, and Gangwon-do Province Governor gathered here together. President Lee Jae-myung's directive is that the special sacrifices made in the border areas must be met with special compensation.
To fulfill this, local leaders have called for designating special economic zones for peace as inter-Korean cooperation projects to secure infrastructure funding. Under the government's master plan, 4 special zones will be designated between 2026 and 2027, with official selections set to be announced soon. Practical deregulation is also moving forward, including eased agricultural restrictions and simplified access to border zones. Central to promoting the region's peace and tourism potential is the government's official portal, dmz.gov't, which opened on Monday. Designed as a comprehensive gateway for global audiences with full English support, the website provides detailed travel information, historical archives, and ecological research on the unique wildlife thriving in the long-term absence of human interference. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Over in the Middle East, the fighting between the United States and Iran appears to have paused after nearly 2 weeks of escalating strikes. The question now is whether the lull could open the door to renewed diplomacy or whether more military action still lies ahead. Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
President Donald Trump has paused the U.S. military strikes on Iran for a second consecutive night, saying he wants to give diplomacy more time, even as Washington insists that all military options remain on the table. Speaking on Fox News on Sunday, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Mike Waltz said the U.S. leader is giving talks some space, while stressing that the pause should not be seen as a decision against further military action. Waltz also dismissed reports that the administration is concerned about dwindling air defense missile stockpiles, saying the U.S. military has all the resources it needs to continue operations if necessary. Iran also signaled a temporary easing of tensions, with an Iranian military spokesperson saying Tehran has halted its retaliatory attacks, while the country's foreign ministry confirmed that indirect communications with the United States are continuing through mediators, including Qatar and Pakistan. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Esmail Begay said diplomatic channels remain active despite escalating tensions. However, he accused Washington of violating a previous memorandum of understanding, calling it the third diplomatic betrayal by the United States. He said Iran remains committed to defending the country unless the U.S. changes its position. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the conflict with Iran will only end when the Iranian regime either falls or is weakened enough to abandon its nuclear program. In an interview with Fox News on Sunday, Netanyahu said Iran must end its nuclear ambitions with or without a deal, arguing that recent U.S. and Israeli strikes have set Tehran's nuclear program back by several years. He also warned that a nuclear-armed Iran would pose a direct threat not only to Israel, but also to the United States, adding that Israel will continue working closely with Washington to prevent that outcome. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, as Korea endures another sweltering summer, the government today raised the nationwide heat wave alert to the highest level in its 4-tier system. Now, one solution gaining attention here in the country is the expansion of so-called urban forests, designed to cool cities while helping reduce carbon emissions. Park Chae-ryung explains.
On a sweltering summer day, rows of small green boxes stand neatly arranged across an empty field in Hwaseong, Gyeonggi-do Province. Inside the boxes are 1,600 newly planted Paulownia saplings spread across a 2.4-hectare site. For now, they are no bigger than a hand, but within a year, they're expected to grow as high as 4 meters. The project is part of a public-private effort to create a carbon-neutral forest that can help absorb carbon and reduce urban heat.
We hope this place will become more than just a planted area. Over time, we expect it to grow into a forest that helps address the climate crisis and lower urban temperatures.
The project is designed as a response to the climate crisis, but it is also expected to help bring down temperatures in urban areas. This place may not look like a forest yet, but in a few years, it'll be covered in Paulownia trees, designed to absorb carbon emissions and lower the heat. Bukhansan Children's Forest in Seoul's Seongbuk-gu district is one example of how urban forests can benefit local communities. Created in 2008, the forest now provides shade for nearby residents and serves as a natural playground where children can experience nature up close.
I like Bukhansan Ecological Forest because it offers untouched nature right in the middle of Seoul. Even in this summer heat, I feel refreshed here with the cool breeze, birdsong, and the sound of cuckoos in June.
Experts say urban forests help cool cities in 2 key ways: by blocking intense summer sunlight with shade and by lowering air temperatures through transpiration, as trees release water vapor from their leaves.
A study by the National Institute of Forest Science found that during summer, urban forests had only 2 days above 33 degrees Celsius, compared with 10 in nearby urban areas.
For now, the saplings in Hwaseong are still small. But as Bukhansan Children's Forest shows, the trees planted today could one day become places where people cool down, rest, and reconnect with nature. Park Chae-ryung, Arirang News.
It's Monday, which means it's time to take a look at what's been happening in the world of sports. And for that, as usual, we have our sports editor, Paul Nee, joining us in the studio. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you. Hello.
Happy Monday. So, Paul, let's first begin with golf. A first LPGA win in 10 years for one South Korean on the tour.
Yes, that's right. Shin Ji-eun on Sunday won the ISPS Handa Women's Scottish Open in North Ayrshire. Shin finished 2 strokes ahead of fellow Korean Kim Ah-rim at 9 under 279. Shin had a 5-stroke lead heading into the final round at 12 under, but shot a 3 over 75 for what was her second career LPGA victory and a winner's check of $300,000. Her last win was the Volunteers of America Texas shootout way back in May 2016. Now, 4 South Koreans have picked up LPGA Tour wins this year now, with Shin joining Lee Mi-hyang, Kim Hyo-ju and Yoo Hae-ran. Lee has 1 victory, while Kim and Yoo each have won twice.
We're starting off with some great news and moving on to football and Heung-min, who seems to have rediscovered his scoring touch.
He does, yes, 3-3 now for him for LAFC after going the domestic season without finding the back of the net. His most recent goal came on Saturday local time at home to Sporting Kansas City, opening the scoring 5 minutes in to help LAFC earn a 4-0 win. On Wednesday, Son got his second of the season, also the opener, but in a 3-1 win at home to Real Salt Lake City. The goals and wins move LAFC up to second in the Western Conference, level on points with Vancouver Whitecaps, but having played 2 games more. Son is now second in MLS for combined goals and assists with 11, made up of 3 goals and a league-leading 8 assists.
Congratulations to our Sonny. And staying with football, a move back to Spain for Korea's very own Lee Gang-in, right?
Yes, he sealed a move back to La Liga, joining Atletico Madrid. It was a move that seemed to be in the offing for a while, but the club finally made the announcement on Saturday. He signed a 5-year contract and will wear the famous number 7 shirt, and the fee is a reported $45 million. He began his career in Spain with Valencia and later moved to Real Mallorca before signing for Paris Saint-Germain in France, where he won multiple league titles and back-to-back Champions Leagues. He is now the first South Korean to play for one of La Liga's big 3, the others being Real Madrid and Barcelona. He's likely to make his first appearance for the club in Seoul when Atleti take on Manchester City in the Kupang Play Series on Sunday, the 9th of August. The Kupang Play Series begins on Wednesday the 5th with Team K-League taking on Manchester City.
Best of luck to Lee Gang-in. And last but not least, moving on to baseball, I understand that the KBO is on course for another record-breaking season.
Yes, it is, to surpass 10 million total spectators for the 3rd straight year. As of July 25th, and as reported by Yonhap, total attendance is projected to reach around 12.95 million, with the league averaging approximately 18,000 fans per game. The average occupancy rate has also risen to 86.7%, showing that baseball's popularity continues to grow. Now, leading the way are Hanwha, Samsung and LG. Hanwha have filled 98.2% of seats at Daejeon Hanwha Life Ballpark, while Samsung and defending champions LG have both exceeded 95% despite playing in larger stadiums. With the rainy season being the only factor slowing attendances, the KBO could even reach the 13 million mark this year.
Well, fingers crossed. Thank you for that, Paul.
Thank you.
With a heat wave settling in, temperatures have been building day after day. Heat alerts are in effect across most of the country. And if you're in the Gyeongsang-do provinces, it's been especially brutal. Some spots have been pushing 40 degrees Celsius, bringing dangerously extreme heat. And after a scorching afternoon, the heat won't back up much tonight. Tomorrow we'll continue to see passing showers across the central regions. The central regions and parts of Gyeongsang-do provinces could see 5 to 40 millimeters of rain. Tropical nights will continue across most regions, with morning lows staying around 26 degrees Celsius in Seoul and Gwangju. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 33 degrees, Daegu 35 and Jeju 32 degrees. The stretch of day and night heat isn't going anywhere just yet. So if you can, try to stay out of the sun during the hottest part of the day and stay hydrated. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
And that's Newscenter for tonight. I'm Song-Yu-jin, filling in for Kim Da-mi. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching, and we'll be back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Korea time.